Back to another awesome episode of Gothically Yours, Professor M. I'm Professor M. And today I'm going to be talking about something that I've been waiting to talk about for a very long time. Gothic music. Yes, what are Professor M's favorite bands, and how did I get into Gothic music, and how long have I been on the scene? Well, just to let you know that I'm now going into my 50s, so I'm considered an Elder Goth. I'm not going to go into the complete retrospective story of all the bands that I like in the Gothic scene, but I will share a little bit about how I got into it and when I knew that I liked goth music. And also on top of that, I'm going to be talking very specifically about the certain genre of music that I like best, which is called Ethereal. Now, if you are a big Ethereal music fan, please leave me a comment down below because I like to hear from others. And at the end of this video, I'm going to be sharing with you my favorite of all the Ethereal Gothic bands. I'm going to share at the beginning when I was in high school a million years ago with the dinosaurs, and what the 80s were like, how I got into the goth scene, what was the clubbing like, and the music that was playing, what got me into listening to goth music, why do I dress like a Victorian goth, and how did I know that I was a Victorian goth, and what do I listen to today? Well, that's easy enough to answer. I listen to corporate goth music, and that's got its own genre to it. Okay, let's go back to 1981, the beginning of MTV. For those of you who are in your 50s or 60s, you will know how awesome, maybe even the 40s, I'm not sure about that, but you will know how absolutely incredibly awesome the beginning start, the explosion, that big bang of MTV when it first began, how incredibly awesome it was, and the days of like the beginning of the beginning, the whole entire, they're telling the, our rock stars at the time were saying, turn it on, leave it on, and it was like, we obeyed, we turned MTV on and we listened to it. I listened to MTV all the way through high school. I remember one day that whole concept of turn it on, leave it on got so bad with me that I had on MTV always on the television, and my father came home one day and said, shut that, you turn that off, and he just turned it off in front of me, or he changed the channel to golf or something. I was like, no, you're not obeying. It's like, I was mesmerized by MTV. But what I really got into was a thing called 120 Minutes, which is the alternative dark side of MTV. Now, I've been told MTV today is garbage. It is nothing like it was back during the time when it all took off, and that whole entire explosion and this electrified, incredible fashion and music explosion came on the scene. But there was a program called 120 Minutes, and you could only watch it like from midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning. During that whole entire youth vibration of that time, I was watching this program, and I was like staying up till like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and I knew I had to get to school at 7 a.m. I had to get up at 7 a.m. So I was very, very dedicated to watching this program. And on this program, they had bands like Knights or Ebb, Love and Rockets, all of these alternative bands. Of course, a lot of Susie Sue played, and usually her most newest videos at the time. I remember they were playing Susie Sue and the Banshees, Kiss Them For Me. It was the first time I saw that one at the time. An interesting thing I'd like to say about Susie is like, she seemed like she gets younger in this video. I don't know what it is. It's like you look at her and it's like she's getting younger and younger and more beautiful. And I'm like very attracted. I own every single Susie Sue and the Banshees album ever. Like I have a whole entire compilation of it that was given to me by a French brother who lives in France. He's my goth brother, and he purchased me all of her music. And the most wonderful thing is that his name is Manu, and he is a specialist on Susie Sue and the Banshees. Susie, particularly, he knows so much about that, and not only that he had met her, he has a tattoo of where she signed his arm when they had met. So she signed it's on his left arm, and she signed his name from the corner of the elbow to the wrist. She signed it out really graciously. He went to a tattoo parlor and had it tattooed on his body. And he's also been like the member of like the Susie Sue and the Banshees Collectors Society, and he has one room in his house, ceiling to floor, wall to wall of LPs, vinyls, every single tape that they've ever made in other countries, Germany, all over Europe, the United States, Canada, wherever the music was being published, and every different variation therefore within. So I'm very gracious to Manu, who I hope is listening today. Thank you, merci, my brother, to you for giving me the Susie and Sue compilation that I have today. Let's go a little bit more deeper into alternative music, jumping off of 120 minutes into another band which everybody loves, The Cure. Robert Smith would not be Robert Smith today, I do not think, going from a forest, without the help of his sister, Goth sister Susie, who created his look, I would say, or at least have some credation for his look, and then we follow that look to this day. Most mopies or traditional goths seem to fall into that Robert Smith look with a lot of eyeliner and mascara and eyeshadow and so on and so forth. Lipstick. Where would we be without black lipstick? Well, actually, his is red, but Ned was always told that he kept a lipstick by his door on a string, so just in case someone came to the door. The 80s. All right. Before I got off of The Cure, I want to share with you there are two albums, and they are, I would say, look at me, I'm getting stressed out here. The very foundation of, like, goth scene. Like, they had said, oh, we're not goth. But if you listen to how their music goes and gets darker and darker and darker, and they had created, like, pornographity and disintegration, these are like the foundation. These albums are, and my absolute most incredibly favorite of all songs is called 100 Years. You could shake me awake in the middle of the night and say, listen to it, I played it to death, and you never get, if you're a goth, it never gets old. You just play it all the time, you know? Robert Smith never gets old to me. I don't care what he looks like to this day. I don't really care what he looks like. He's still this young, vibrant, young guy. Susie's going to be immortal in my mind, you know. They're going to be immortal. So let's get off of Susie and other bands as I had listened to when I was in college, which led into the Gothic scene. These bands are not goth that I'm going to mention right now, but they play a vital role into what I had liked. I liked a lot of industrial music. I liked a lot of dark wave and synth wave. Well, let's talk about industrial, for example. 9 Inch Nails. I loved 9 Inch Nails, and my roommate at the time had played that, and then also Jane's Addiction. Well, these are not goth bands, but they were the type of bands that made me feel really good. Another band that I admire to this day is VNV. They've wrote several songs that one of the songs called When Is the Future. They are, I was told that VNV actually played at Mariluna, I guess in Germany. I know that they made a video in Japan for that particular song, but if you look at their retrospective work, they are like, could be dark, you know, the sound is teetering on that, but they're not goth bands, and we're going to be talking about goth bands today. I'm going to be sliding into some of my favorite bands. One of them is Covenant. Okay, I'm into corporate goth, and as I got older, you know, the makeup comes off and all the other stuff. I still have an excessive collection of jewelry and a whole entire wardrobe. I'm if you break down the areas of goth, the 6 areas of goth, fashion to me is just so happens to be like one of my focal points. This music and fashion, right? Well, we have architecture and literature and a whole entire other. There's 6 areas that we get into, and movies and watching the video. They've got these, men in Victorian hats like me. I'm like, hey, it's so amazing. How coincidental, Love it. They've written "Call to Ship Support" is another song they've written. There's another band that I really like. It's Faith and the Muse, and they wrote a song called "Sparks." Another band that I have come to really enjoy out of Germany is And One. I believe I'm trying to think of Steven's last name. He always wears a suit on stage. He looks so cool. And One did a cover song by a band called PITCHFORK Project called Time Killer, and I think it actually sounds better than the original. PITCHFORK Project also wrote a song called Rain. I love the video. I like their clothes. It seems so Victorian. PITCHFORK Project, and let's go right into my favorite type of music. My favorite type of music in the Gothic world is ethereal, and there's a lot of different bands that do ethereal music. But my absolute favorite, and if you are a fan, please write a comment down below. I'd like to talk with you, is the Cocteau Twins. And I am so in love with Elizabeth Fraser. The music is seamless. Robbie Guthrie's guitar is it's mystical. And their whole entire discography, their whole entire retrospective, their anthology of music is amazing. Now, if you have ever heard all of their albums like I have, and if this is your first time listening to them, Garlands, I would like for you to pass over Garlands until you are a die-hard fan. If you want to find out which is their best album, I would have to say Heaven or Las Vegas, and then one of the great songs that they've ever written was Heaven or Las Vegas, which is self-entitled through the album. There's ICEBLINK Baby, there's so many different, I'll just list them down here below. You can actually see them. And the story of Elizabeth and Robbie goes something like this. She was 18, she met him, he liked her, and he asked her, say, do you want to join this band? The first album was Garlands. They went to a recording studio, did alternative music called 4AD, and they played a gig, sent in demo tapes, and they got a recording, and they made Garlands, which to me, I've listened to. It's for those who are diehard fans, you're going back into the archives. I would like to have people come up more into some of these other albums, but the Heaven or Las Vegas album is beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. There's so many incredible. I'm just listing them right here for you to see. Incredible songs they have played. Now, I want to share a few things. Robert Smith from The Cure on his wedding day was listening to who? Cocteau Twins, when he was getting dressed that morning to get married. And that was from an interview that I saw. And then there was a man in Columbus, Ohio, who promoted them so much in the United States. He was like the backbone for promotion. When they finally left Scotland and England to go on tour, they were given a gig in New York City. They were saying, hey, why don't you do a tour over here in the United States? And this man who had promoted them so much by his record store, in Columbus, Ohio. They bypassed on one of the biggest performances they could have ever had and went directly to Columbus, Ohio. Now, I had been to that theater that they performed at, but I did not see them. I watched all kinds of other bands at that place. I mean, I've had all kinds of experiences at the place. Sadly enough, it has been closed since then, but knowing that I was a part of the history of being there at one of the best, rock theaters ever, and there was a club just down the street called Mean Mr. Mustard's, and the whole entire place was incredibly goth. They painted the walls, the ceiling, the floors, the bathrooms, the bar, everything was black, and there was this layer of just clove cigarette smoke. When you walked in, you were fresh and clean. When you came out smelling like whatever. I always joke that there was, absence mystified and floating through the air. So these are just some of the things that I had experienced when I was doing all that when I was younger, in my 20s. Never left the love of the goth scene, and never left it. A lot of us get toned down. Now I've got Elder Goth sisters also doing YouTube videos on here who are still putting on the glamour. They're putting on the makeup. They're getting their goth on. Typically, when men get older, we tend to take it off, and all of the other sparkly stuff that was here. And I will now close out my very quick talk on this area of just goth music. I just wanted to lightly touch on my life and lightly touch on that. But if you are a Cocteau Twins fan, please let me know. Please tell me your favorite album, your favorite song, anything that you want to share with you. And the greatest and most powerful thing about this band is the lyrics. It will be discussed forever, and we will never see another band like this in our lifetime that will be more... I think they are the most mysterious and wonderful. They are like the Northern Lights. There's something about this band that just gets me, and I just put one of their discs on and just let it play, There are several albums that you can just play, in a loop, and it will set a tone. They're relaxing and refreshing, and it gives you a really great sense of mind. Now, there's so many different areas of the Gothic family tree of music. And if you've ever seen the book Encyclopedia Gothica by Lisa Lasseter, she is an author. She wrote an incredible book that I did a review on, which is on my YouTube channel down there. I'll put a link in down below so you can see this. But in the back of her book, she gives a map of all the goth bands and which one they belong to, industrial or gothabilly or whatever. And that's part of the Gothic family tree. And we have 45 different branches. Excuse me, Professor M, you are wrong. 46 branches. Grunge goth has been added. Now I want to drink this up before before it goes away. I am closing off my very quick speech here about a little bit, just a tidbit and a sample of my background in goth music. Signing off, gothically yours, Professor M.